Hey there guys, welcome to day 6. This is really exciting. If you've made it to this point, you have made it further than most people, because most people just putter out. And I've tried to create this in such a way that it's obviously you have to continue to just do the exercise and the training, for the 7 days to begin feeling and seeing those results. But I also wanted to make it educational along the way, because that's what fuels that why, that learning more about your body, learning about the reasons why you're doing something, I've seen be very, very helpful to long-term results. Knowing that the goal that you have can't physically be achieved in only 7 days, but putting those things in place over these 7 days are going to be what propels you into achieving those goals in the future. And in all honesty, how you approach this and how you approach just reaching goals in general bleeds off into every area of your life. So today I wanted to go over the 4 big overarching mistakes that I see happening. I'm calling them kind of like dieting gone wrong. So this is not just maybe your typical eating the wrong things or doing the wrong things, or that is we've kind of gone over this week talking about protein and carbs and fats and how that's always very specific to the person. A lot of things work and a lot of things don't work long term for the reasons that I gave, but almost everything works if you stick to it. That's usually the bigger problem. Why do people not stick to it? That's kind of what I'm gonna go into, and some of the mistakes that people make along the way. So number 1 is going to be focused on too much right now and not later. Too much, you're thinking about what you should see day in and day out. You're thinking about how you should feel day in and day out. And that should is prefacing all of what's happening. And so when that expectation is a little bit higher than what reality can really be, it's discouraging. And so that's why it's so important to not only be following something that has been proven to work, but also be communicating back, communicating back about why it might not be working, or what good expectations are to have, and focusing on now in terms of making your daily habits and making your daily steps towards that long goal, but almost more reminding yourself of how your choices today are going to set up your life for tomorrow, set up your life for next week, next month, next year, 5 years from now. I love comparing fitness to finances, because finances are tangible, right? If you have $1, you have $1. When it's harder with fitness, but if you'll just kind of hang with me, in terms of finances, let's say you're saving to buy a house and you need $50,000 to put a down payment, and that's small in a lot of cases, right? If we're being honest. So what is it going to take? You have to kind of reverse engineer and back up and say, well, do I want to buy a house in so many years? How much money do I have to set aside every year to make that happen? And then you break that down smaller. Now, per year, what does that look like per month? And then if you get paid more than once a month, then you might even break it down per paycheck. Out of each paycheck, what do I need to set aside to reach that goal in X years from now? Let's call it 5 years from now, 10 years from now. Whatever it is that you're working towards that seems so big. If you weren't thinking about those daily things, then you might get discouraged a year down the road and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm not anywhere where I wanted to be. And that's the same thing with fitness. You might have this goal. We've all had goals. A lot of women approach it with how they want to look. A lot of women approach it with how they want to feel, and we don't reverse engineer it. And so that's what we need to do, is kind of look over at the goal, but then look back at, okay, daily, and then each day check yourself, like, am I depositing money into that account that's actually going to get me to where I want to be? That is really, really important. So focusing too much on right now without thinking about the future, and then also focusing so much about the future and not thinking about what you need to do right now to get there. So it's kind of like one and the same, but mirrored from each other. And then second is focus too much on the physical change and then not enough on the mental, the emotional, the internal, like digestive, stress, how much sleep you're getting, how your sleep has improved, your mood. All of these things are impacted positively by healthy lifestyle changes. And sometimes we get so focused on our body changing, we give up before we're able to even see the change. The majority of the time, I was going to say every, but I have a hard thing with absolutes, so I can't say every, but almost every. Almost every person I've ever worked with in 15 years has made internal changes before the physical changes. And I would say that even if I can think of one or two that seemed to make physical changes before the internal, it was only because nobody picked up on the internal. It always starts inside. I believe it starts in your mind first, which is why day one was about self-talk. Many times what you believe about yourself or what you don't believe about yourself will hold you back way more than what you're doing or what your body wants to do. And then in terms of physical change, I hope that over the last few days, as you've learned about metabolism and you've learned about proteins and carbs and fats and micronutrients and all of these things, I hope that you'll recognize that all of that stuff, that's happening inside of our body at a cellular level. It's happening like really, really small. And if we interrupt all of that stuff with stress, I talked a lot about stress yesterday, if we interrupt it with too low calorie eating or too much exercise or not enough movement or not enough hydration or all of these things, if we interrupt that, our body has a response of protection, and obviously the physical change is not a priority to our bodies. Survival is important to our bodies. That's a priority. And so it's going to adapt in ways to prevent some of those changes that we want to see with our eyes. So we have to kind of back up a little bit and make sure that we're doing all of those things correctly and most optimally in order to get that maximum physical result, because the physical result will come. I have never, ever worked with someone that has put in place all of, the internal, the sleep and the stress and all of the things, hydration, over periods of time, compounded over time, and not seen a physical change. The body just responds. It's just what it does. So worrying about that is just a waste of energy. Third, and I mentioned this a little bit earlier, is that you have the wrong expectations many times. I do too. And having the right expectations takes time. And I'm going to use business as an example for this because I've dealt with this firsthand. If you expect certain things out of business, where do you develop that expectation? Usually, you develop the expectation by looking at something else. So, for example, I'm a small business. I might look at another small business, maybe even a fitness consulting company, and I might say XYZ about their company, and then place those same expectations on me when I don't know what they're doing internally. I don't know anything about them, really. I only know what I've seen, maybe from marketing or maybe from word of mouth from friends. And what happens is that this undue stress starts to accumulate and then grow on the inside. And before I know it, I might even be feeling disappointed in myself and my business and my efforts because I'm comparing that to theirs. Now, let's say I have a business audit and I meet with a professional that looks at my business and goes through it with a fine-tooth comb. And then they give me feedback that says, these areas, XYZ, are areas that are room for improvement. You could definitely work here, but these over here, these are wonderful. You're doing these great. You need to keep doing them so that you can see your efforts compounded, and you're going to get where you want to go. Now, isn't that totally different? Obviously, I would leave that business meeting being like, yeah, I'm on the right track. I know exactly what I need to work on. That is what we want to do for you. We don't want you it's going to happen. You're going to compare yourself to other people. You're going to compare yourself to your family. You're going to compare yourself to your next door neighbor or that girl at the gym or whatever it is. You're going to. But if you're going to be hard on yourself, which I know you're going to, do it with the right expectation. Do it with an expert that can sit down with you and say, look, you're doing really good in these areas, but these areas need work. And if you apply the effort that I know that you have to these areas, you're going to reach your goal hands down. You're going to, I mean, that's, when I think about that with business and how my business coaches have helped me do that, that's what we want to do for you. And I hope that using that analogy makes it just really clear for you. And so overall, as we're approaching this, we're into day 6. You know, tomorrow wraps it up. Pictures and measurements are time to be submitted. You know, the winner's going to be announced and win a free scholarship into our Transformation Blueprint program. I mentioned in the email about how to take what we're doing and not only continue to progress, but learn how to transition out of the fat loss side of it and not rebound, because there's a risk that happens with every fat loss program, is that you can rebound and not only regain your weight but regain more. And that's the problem that really society has in general. We don't really have a weight loss problem, we have a weight regain problem. And I'm all about prevention over treatment, so I don't want to get there with you. I want to help you, educate you ahead of time with preparation about what that might look like. And we just can't do that in 7 days. You can either go on your own, or we can also move into another style of coaching. That's what our business is built on, is helping you achieve your best self. And there's many avenues to do it. So I would love to get on the phone with you. I would love to hear your story. I would love to just dig a little bit deeper and find out what your struggles are and something that you can take away from that conversation. No obligation. This is not about trying, like, put your credit card away. It's not about that. It's about me genuinely wanting to help you. And if I can't help you, maybe I can help one of your friends. I know that the content that we've gone over today has just been like a fire hydrant, or not just today, but this week has been a fire hydrant of information. And I hope you found it valuable. And I hope we finish the week strong together with moving into day 7. See you tomorrow.